He's tall, he's black, he's got a scar on his neck. Like, that's a really good description.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
And this is We Watch Spookies.
Today's movie is Saw. Saw is a 2004 horror mystery film directed by James Wan, starring Carrie Elways, Danny Glover, Monica Potter, Michael Emerson, Ken Leung, Tobin Bell, and Leah Whannell. What about synopsis?
All right, two people get trapped in a room, and then as they communicate with each other, one of the people, whom is a doctor, starts talking about how he's heard of such incidents, which leads to a series of flashbacks and the flash forwards, I guess. So you have the guy whom they call Jigsaw, and he wants to play a game, and then Danny Glover dies.
Well, eventually, yeah. Yeah, that whole business where the partner gets killed, that whole sequence is like, he should, like, I don't know how he didn't bleed to death there, as he's like cut really seriously in the neck, but it takes him so, like, he plays the game where he says there's a key and it's in the thing, and he does that instead of just thinking, I have a gun, I can shoot these drills and
I
stop this thing right now.
know.
I'm glad he eventually gets there.
Yes.
But by then then things don't go the way they might have if he'd thought of it sooner.
Okay, so most of this movie is just here's something that you could very easily get through if you did non-conventional means, but it's like, oh no, what should we do? Oh yeah, there's a so-and-so. We're only gonna focus on the so-and-so. Like, what?
Yeah, people have kind of limited.
It's like they've been led, and because they're scared, they'll do what that is.
Well, this is the blood simple thing again. Yeah. Like when you've experienced a trauma, although they don't remember the trauma at first because they didn't really go through a trauma. So
I think it's like
the shock of not knowing what's going on.
I think it's like that short-term amnesia kind of bit. Like I guess it's partially due to said tranquilizers that he says he was using. Maybe. I mean, the doctor kind of remembers mostly pretty much right away. Like, it takes him a little bit of like waking up, but then the other guy just suddenly remembers everything all at once and actually says in dialogue, I remember everything now, as if it's just come to him in a flash. And it's deep in the movie, so there's no justification for it. It's like, wait, why do you remember everything suddenly? Why? Yeah.
Even though there's kind of not much to remember in the first place. Not very much happened to him, at least not about the being taken part.
Yeah. Now, on that note as well, it does make me wonder why, because I can see the doctor, because one of the little bits of dialogue is like the desire to live, like appreciating it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, most people are so ungrateful to be alive.
Yeah, and then it's just like, but then you have this guy, and he's just doing his job. I don't know what else about his life you could really go against. Like, yeah, he lives like in a slum kind of area, but his job is to go around being almost like a private detective, but he specializes in taking photos of people he's hired to take photos of.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't see anything past that would make him where it's like, oh yeah, he doesn't appreciate being alive. It's like, voyeurism. It's like, no, he's paid to do this. It's not a hobby that he's just like sitting over in the corner just, yeah,
there is,
I like that photo. Like, no.
There is a little bit of a like Seven kind of thing here where people are being punished for various things, but sometimes the things are, especially in his case, are not, they're only in the situation for external reasons.
Yeah.
I guess the guy that cut himself just cut himself for his own reasons, so that was his fault, I guess. Nobody made him do it. And some of the other people, we don't really know why. Most of the other people, we don't know.
Well, there was the guy that was supposedly dead, but he was only unconscious.
Yeah.
And there was the key that was inside him. There was the lady that had to cut him open to get the key out. We don't know anything about her other than she was a drug addict. And
yeah, I guess that is just a generic, like, wasting life kind of thing.
Well, see,
with her.
Even if she does manage to get through this, it's just as likely she'll relapse and fall back into it because of the trauma. And then we have the guy who cut himself, but we don't know why he cut himself. We're only told, like, did you cut yourself because you wanted to die or because you wanted attention?
Yeah, well, because he says, you had things were okay for, he was doing fine, and then he cuts himself anyway, so.
Yeah, but, people who cut themselves normally cut themselves for reasons that most people don't know about unless they're actually said. So that doesn't work either.
And especially if he had, like, chemical depression or something, then it's not fair to punish him for that because it's not something he has control over anyway.
And then we have the doctor, whom we assume is cheating because he meets the other orderly.
Yeah, he says that he wasn't, but she's just going right to taking the clothes off, and this is not the first time. So, and he hasn't presumably stopped her before because she's surprised.
Yeah,
so he is
all right.
100% cheating. Unless it is the first time. Maybe it is the first time. We don't actually know.
I don't know, maybe.
Because he told her.
But if it's the first time, then why is Jigsaw Dude being
I gave you a specific
doing
time.
a thing about it?
I don't know. Well,
see,
the Jigsaw thing with him is a long running kind of thing because he's set up for being a suspect earlier when I guess maybe he was already cheating at that point if this wasn't the first time. He must have been, because then he wasn't. They do some things to try to show us how he's not like that great a person. Like he finishes writing his paragraph before he goes to check out the daughter's bedroom, and the wife and daughter are really frustrated and upset by this. And so we're supposed to like think he's not doing the best with his family that he should be. He's letting work and at that point we think it's just work. We don't know that it's work and also the secretary on the side, but it's not like, it's kind of weak. Like it's not enough. So I'm like, okay, it's all right if you like torture these people, which,
well, like none of the characters are outwardly likable.
Not really. No.
And then there's nothing that they do to try to show like, oh, you're supposed to support this character. Like, no, I don't care about any of them. Like, I want them all to die because they're annoying. They don't have any qualities that are worth liking. Like, even, like, the little girl. Like, she says somebody was talking to her. And then, like, they go into the room. And then she doesn't say anything else about it.
Yeah.
Why? Like, if I was literally talking to some dude and I didn't panic then when some dude is in my closet trying to talk to me again, why am I panicking now?
It is kind of odd because she doesn't panic.
Yeah.
I mean, she's upset, I guess. She's frightened, but she just kind of stands there at the bedroom.
She's doing a bad job being frightened. If that's all it is I'm going to stand in front of the bed where mom's asleep and then wake her up because someone's in my room.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not a good enough job.
I mean, it's just a kid.
I don't care.
So, like, they don't deserve to die necessarily. They also weren't supposed to, really, because they're only there kind of as a threat or extra motivation or something. They're a piece in the game, but they're not the player of the game or players of the game. So
I don't. Okay, so
he keeps them hostage at home. He doesn't stick them in a rundown room somewhere with something dangerous in it.
See, while I can agree with they're not players, at the same time, like, the game is do this by 6 or I kill them. And that's all it is.
Basically, yeah.
And so I don't like the mother because she had the opportunity to prevent the guy from killing her child, and then she failed, which is garbage. And it took the ex-cop to come in and also fuck that up. Because, like, no one seems to know. It's like, oh yeah, you can shoot this guy in the back. He's not that far away. You can hit him. It's only a hallway.
Like seriously, like the only thing I'll give him is the fact that the gun jams and we see it.
Yeah.
And then he's got to like fix it, and then he changes the magazine out.
Which I think it's like an M9 or something, so it's not uncommon necessarily that it would jam. It's not like we're surprised, like that gun would never jam. What is this bogusness? And also he's kind of like a conspiracy map on the wall crazy guy at this point, so he's probably not keeping up with his gun cleaning schedule like he would have been when he was police.
Yeah.
Which I guess they let him keep his gun or something, even though he was sort of like forcibly, I don't know if he was like asked to retire or forced to leave or what.
It could have just been his.
It could have. I'm really not sure where we are. Do we know where we are?
I don't remember.
So I don't know if it's like, it's hard to tell. It seems like it's kind of a generic,
yeah.
It's a city. There's lots of rundown stuff in it though, so it's kind of limited as to which cities it could be, but I don't think they actually tell us. Because that parking garage, I knew there was something wrong with it. Either it was wrong because just they shot it in a bad location, or it wasn't at the hospital.
Yes.
Like it was implied the first time we saw it, because it's like really run down. It looks like it's a barn almost. And it's like, it's dirty and
it looks like it's a parking garage in the ghetto.
Kind of, but
like that's what it looks like.
And
it does not look like one that's connected to a hospital.
We're not told that he works at the ghetto hospital, so it seems like probably not. And we see the hospital earlier.
Yeah, now I guess that's supposed to be like, we're making this, it's a really low budget kind of movie, so we don't need to shoot it in a whole bunch of different stuff. So we are going to shoot it all in this one location to make you think about him saying he's leaving the hospital. And you're like, that doesn't look like the parking garage of a hospital, which is something we did.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's fine if that's part of the mystery, but it's just like, I was like, there's no way this is connected to the hospital. So either we don't know something yet, or this is bad. It turns out we just don't know something yet, so that's fine. I do like that it just gets right into things. Like, we sort of wake up in the movie having no idea what's happened before the way that they do.
Yeah,
we just come up from black, and he's like, whoa, what's going on? I'm in a bathtub.
and this movie is begun. All right, so one of the issues that I have with the game is there's no real fair way of winning it. Because he's like, there's rules.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's rules, and you imply that someone can win, then that means that someone should be able to win. But killing said guy does not mean that you exactly win. Well, maybe, depending on how it's supposed to be properly worded, where it's like, yeah, we didn't say you would live. We're just saying that we won't kill your wife and kid.
Mm-hmm.
But then what about the other guy? Like, is he just supposed to make it for that? It's kind of, when we see the key go down the drain, we know that it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, like, nobody gets to leave at this point.
Which seems to be just an oversight of Jigsaw, because he tells him right at the end the key's in the bathtub.
Yeah.
But it's not.
No, it's down the drain.
It went down the drain. He doesn't seem to know that. Of course, he's been dead in the middle of the room the whole time, so he wouldn't have been able to see it. Which, was he on like drugs or something? Like, he couldn't have been, because he was controlling the electrocution.
Yeah,
but
he was just laying there.
He, what is his name? Adam? Right? Yeah. He says, like, dead bodies are different in real life. They don't move at all. But it turns out it's not actually a dead body.
He's just really good at not moving.
He's really good at not moving.
Now, granted, you know, like, the makeup, I guess, is all right. And, you know, if you cover yourself with enough blood, it could be real blood. We don't know. You know, it also does a good job of kind of explaining why they were able to know things.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, we didn't see what's-his-face in the doctor's house use the mechanism to shock Adam.
No, but it seemed like he was busy
like,
most of the time.
Yeah, but at the same time, it kind of worked really well. It's like, if I hear, I can have these things in my hand that activate the shocks, one per person, and then I can just kind of flinch my hand a little bit. Nobody'd notice, and I'd still shock that person.
Well, and it has to be because he can't hear on the monitors when they discuss the cigarette plan.
Exactly.
But then he still knows that it's fake somehow, and it's because he's in the room. I mean, he could also know by that's not the symptoms of that poison killing you or something, because they don't actually know anything about it. He just assumes I'll just convulse for a minute and then fall to the floor.
That acting was so bad. It's
well, we're watching Adam act as if he's dying.
Yeah.
So, and he's not an actor.
Them cutting the chain continuity edits is bad.
Oh yeah,
It's like
he's cutting the chain, he's cutting the lock, he's cutting the chain again.
Yeah. Like the stuff with Adam, it's like they just had like 2 camera setups. Where it's like, all right, so cut the chain, we're gonna record you from this angle, and then cut the chain, and we'll record you from this angle, and we'll just kind of edit back and forth between these two.
Well, Adam is better,
and then
it's
like
the doctor.
Yeah, and then
the
like the doctor, they have like 5 different angles, and everything is like he's cutting in a different area on each one. Like, what is this? Come on, guys, y'all can do better than that.
Well, I mean, let's see. They only shot for 18 days. So it was a very short schedule, and so there's not much time for doing things over again, if you could even see. Now, this is early enough that they're doing it on film, I guess, and so you can barely see stuff on the video taps.
The photos.
Yeah.
How did they get? Okay, so how did they get the photos of Jigsaw looking out of the doctor's house? That would have been the photos taken from the angle of Danny Glover's character in there. That's weird.
I think he's been camped out there a while, and so he's been giving pictures to Adam to develop for some time now. I don't know how the like immediately current ones got there, but
yeah, like it's that
one's
it's
from
that
the
one.
same angle. I can see, but
that's the thing is like the one that we see is Zepp or whatever his name's supposed to be.
Zepp, yeah.
In the doctor's house, looking out the window, and we know it's that one because that's the same one that the camera is recording that Danny Glover looks at when he's like, does the doctor know you're in his house? And it's the same picture. And so, like, how did they get that as an actual photo the exact same time that they're in there?
Because he couldn't have added things to the bag.
Now, I can see it being a little bit different with, like, the Polaroid.
Yeah, although...
Because, like, that one I can explain. Because you have the guy who's already inside the house, and then you have the guy with the cancer outside of the house. The dude captures the wife and daughter, ties them up, takes the picture, gives the picture to what's-his-face, who then follows them all the way to the parking lot, because, you know, like, the doctor's got to go inside the hotel and all that other kind of shit. So that'd give him enough time to get that one where, you know, shake it so it develops, and then bam, that one's set. You just gotta fold it.
If you shake it, it blurs. It'll develop the same speed on its own. It doesn't actually help.
Shake it like a Polaroid
Don't shake
picture.
It's not actually wet. It has a layer of plastic over the top of it. You're not helping it to dry. It doesn't do anything but make it blurry. Don't shake it like a Polaroid, because you shouldn't be doing that. If you want blurry pictures, fine. But like I guess it's just because they're taking place much closer to... We don't really know the order of things in the flashbacks exactly, so...
Well, some of the flashbacks are going to be like prior events, but some of the events are happening at the exact same time.
Some of them are, but...
Because the way it's set up is the daughter talks to a mysterious figure in her room, wakes up the parents, dad puts her back to bed, gets the pager to go screw the secretary lady. He leaves. He tells her no.
So Zepp just waits.
Yes, goes back into his car
immediately after the doctor leaves.
Yeah, like drives just a little bit. He's still like in the parking garage, and that's when he's captured. So it's like a few minutes, maybe an hour after he leaves. And then the dude who's taking the photos takes the photos of him when he was going to his car. After he goes to his car, he goes back to his house. So the doctor's already been kidnapped. Then you just got to get the dude who takes the photos. Bam, done. That can be done in like 2 hours. And they're already drugged because of the tranquilizer, because he's using a better tranquilizer now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's all explainable. Like that I don't have so much of a problem with. It's like all of the things that are shown inside the room and outside of the room at the same time. Like that's why the developed photos I have an issue with. Because there's no way to have them develop that fast at that angle and put into the room all like that. Because no one leaves the room. Like, it all has to be done before they close the door.
Yeah. There is a problem with every time things get extreme, like where then extreme music plays and things happen in fast motion and jerky weird angles and things. They do it here and there, but then they do it a lot at the end.
Yeah.
Danny Glover driving over to the place and him sawing the leg off, and which it takes the shirt off to tourniquet his leg so he can saw it off instead of using it to reach the phone, which is what's causing his panic at that moment. And he already told Adam to use his shirt to get a thing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Which even that we still, I mean, Saw, I guess maybe because the later ones do, and then also they get kind of lumped in with Hostel, which does more. This is not nearly as graphic as you think of the Saw movies being. Most of the things, even the extreme things like sawing off his foot, happens below the frame, and it's only implied.
Because we don't have the money for that.
Yeah, but that's probably beneficial. It's like the shark in Jaws. It doesn't work, so we can't show it, and it ends up making it scary. But it's even I guess the most actively graphic thing is the guy in the barbed wire. Because they do show us a fair amount of him kind of crawling through it.
Well, the thing
and I
is,
guess she handles intestines or something of the guy, and the key is inside. But mostly everything happens not quite in frame, or it's implied that it's violent and terrible, but you don't really see it. Or they talk about things that are bad, but you don't really see them. Although there is this, like, it's on the poster, and it's on I think it's on the back of the DVD case, because there's two different versions of the art. There's a hand sawn off, like at just a halfway up there, like probably 4 inches up the wrist, and it's laying there just on the ground, cut off, the same way that the foot is on the other version of the poster art. But nobody gets a hand cut off.
No.
So I don't know he does cut his foot off eventually, so that makes sense. But nobody loses a hand that we know of. Actually, one of the scarier things is just what this will rip your head open like a reverse bear trap thing looks like. Like, it looks really intense and frightening, because it's all made out of like weird iron and pieced together, and it has way too much visible mechanism for it to be comfortable. It just looks like he's hacked it together.
Yeah. It looks heavy too.
It does look heavy. And it doesn't that's the only device like that, really, because even the drill rig is just kind of like a couple of bars with some drills mounted into it, and none of the rest of it is really any kind of mechanism. It's like, I strung some barbed wire, I put some glass on the floor and coated you in kerosene gel, and that there's just this like the device thing that'll be much more prevalent in the later ones, but it's just the only one that's here. I guess we could only afford one device on the tiny amount of money. And most of it is just they sit in a room and argue about stuff, and don't work together, which is part of what his point is, I guess, that they're just like selfish people that won't like do that much to keep themselves alive or keep someone else alive.
Well, we can't even say that, though, because there's no real point behind any of it on the guys in the room.
Not really, I guess.
No, it's like, no, there's not. Because everybody else, there seems to be a reason, even if it's kind of vague. These two just seem to be like, oh, we're going to have two characters who didn't know they interacted with each other. Bam, there you go.
Well, the doctor's tape says you tell people that they're going to die like really and like easily and calmly, and now you'll see what it's like for someone to tell you that, or for you to know what it's like to be about to die.
That's kind of bullshit.
Though. Kind of, but I think that's part of what it's supposed to be.
And now we do know that the guy who's doing all this, we know he's got cancer and shit.
He has cancer, and
so he's just a little bitch. That's all he is. But like when it comes to a doctor telling somebody, "Oh yeah, you're gonna die," like if it's true, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to be just told up front, like, "Hey man, we can't fix this. You're gonna die," and then you have decisions you have to make. It's almost like someone told him he's gonna have to die, and then he wanted to put the blame on other people. Like that's what it feels like.
It could be, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, listen here, mister.
And he doesn't care if he gets caught because he's gonna die of cancer anyway.
Yeah, like you're gonna die. We can't. You had colon cancer. It's like it's in your head now. We can't get rid of it. Good luck.
Now, there's one disadvantage that it has just because I'm seeing it way after the fact. And so, although this is still... Well, no, this is right in where he wouldn't have really been, because he doesn't show up until the end of that season. But Zepp is Michael Emerson, who is on Lost. And they do all of this, like, showing you the back of his head, showing you just little bits of the side of his face and stuff when he's operating in the house, and they don't really show you who it is. But because they've already shown us Zepp, and I spent like 5 seasons of Lost looking at every possible angle of Michael Emerson's head, because they do a lot of sneaky stuff like that at various times in that. I'm like, I can tell every time it's him that it's Michael Emerson's head, and that it's not multiple people being involved in it. And so like, I know it's Zepp. I know Zepp. Now, I don't know that Zepp is not Jigsaw, but
yeah,
like that comes totally out of nowhere with no warning at all, really, except the voice, because we do hear him talk at the headquarters when he doesn't have the changer, really, and it doesn't sound like Zepp. So although Zepp doesn't really get to talk much before that, but I know what Michael Emerson's voice sounds like.
Yeah.
So
well, like, I don't know which one was the first one you had ever seen, but the first one I'd ever seen was the 5th one. And so like I know what Jigsaw is.
The only one I've ever seen is 4.
4, okay.
Before now, I never saw any of the ones before, and that was because like I watched it in college because I was like writing a story, and someone said this is kind of like Saw 4. You should watch Saw 4, and so then I watched it without having seen any of the rest of them, and was kind of confused by what is all this Danny Glover like police like ongoing investigation thing? It doesn't really matter. It's mostly about the people in the room.
Yeah.
So.
And so, like, having watched, because I think I watched 5, and then we watched 4.
Yeah, we watched 4, yeah.
And so it's like I know what the dude looks like because I know he was dying of cancer.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like seeing him on the bed, I'm like, hey, that's Jigsaw. And then like during this movie, like I figured like it was going to be him, but then it ended up being like Zepp. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what about the dude that was on the bed? And it's like, oh yeah,
but then it's not Zepp.
It's both of them, because Zepp, for some reason, is part of the game, which, like, I thought Zepp would have been, Zepp seems like he's one of those kinds of people who tries to be good, but is too timid, so he gets ran over.
Yeah.
Because, like, whenever they're doing, like, the little flashback, and, you have the doctor, and he's talking to the other orderlies, and, like, the fresh doctors or whatever, and he's talking about, like, the patient, the patient, and Zepp comes in, he's like, oh, his name is so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like, I'd figure, like, oh, it's, like, maybe it's because he's empathetic.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, no, like fucking Jigsaw just is like, nope, Zepp, you're a pawn too.
Yeah, we don't know what he's supposed to have done.
Yeah.
But except that he has some kind of poison, or at least he tells him that he does. That he'll give him poison the antidote to if he does what he says.
So like that's confusing, because that wears down on the character that is supposed to be built for the Jigsaw image. So I don't know whether or not he actually creates rules for these games, or if he just bullshits to make people think he is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be that Michael Emerson's poison is a lie, because the poison in the blood of the guy on the floor is a lie because he's dead. So, or he's not dead because he's Jigsaw.
Well, you know,
so,
it could have been fake, you know, fake blood. Like there could have been something in it. We just know it wasn't actually his because he was the boss.
Yeah, but he's laying in it for the whole movie. So if there's like so much poison, he can dip a cigarette into it and kill Adam, which is what he seems to be wanting him to do. Then he's laying his face is laying in it the whole time.
Yeah.
Unless it's just like this little bit of the puddle over here has the poison in it, but not the rest of it.
I mean, he seems to have come up with all these other ideas, so that doesn't bother me as much. Especially if he's leading, because that's what it is. He's leading their thoughts.
Yeah.
Like here's your note. Wink, wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. You can reach this part of the blood. I know you can.
Yeah, it almost is kind of like it's a test, but it's like the box kind of. It's not quite as bad as that, but it's almost like it's not a fair game because he's making you do particular things the way that he wants, and you don't really have like a choice of what to do to get out of it or not. And he's still making you do something bad in order. He's actually the opposite, really, of what he says. He doesn't really care about life because he wants you to care about being alive. But in order to do that, often you have to kill someone else. Not in all of the games, because the guy could have gotten through the barbed wire probably if he had just not panicked and hadn't tried to do it so fast.
Yeah.
And the guy on fire, or the guy with the safe, I guess, does he have a limited time? Or I mean, there's no one else in the room for him to kill. He just has to get in the safe, and it's hard for him to not set himself on fire with the candle because that's the only light. But I don't know how he's ever supposed to figure out that combination because there's so many numbers, and we don't spend any time with it, so we don't know if there's like a way that there's clues or something. He just seems to be going around the room just like numbers, and moving the safe tumblers.
I was actually kind of thinking about that because there's supposed to be glass on the floor, and he's like practically naked. So it's like you step on the glass, it hurts your foot, it causes you to flinch, you light yourself on fire. And I was kind of thinking, it's like, well, to keep myself from lighting on fire, I was hoping there'd be like a shard of glass that was large enough that I would be able, because like you can hold glass and not cut yourself.
Yeah,
you can just kind of take a shard and then just very gently kind of scrape off some of that gel
and then set it on fire,
and then like set it on fire, and then you could like place it in areas. That way it's like you're not having to hold something that's like liquid wax fire. You know, you can it's something you could control a little easier.
Yeah. Or even if you just set the candle on a piece of glass, or stick it on this, like stick the piece of glass in the side of the candle so it's farther away from you if anything happens.
Yeah. Now, granted, that is if there would be a shard of glass that's large enough.
I mean, if there has to be, because if there are shards of glass big enough to like have to worry about how you step on them, then probably like there should be.
Yeah.
Probably he could just kind of like scoop some of it off of him and kind of like throw it at stuff, or like just take his hand and just run it up his arm and then kind of gloop it off onto the floor. We don't know. Like those, I guess we do get more of them in the later movies, but those kind of situations where there's more to figure out, we could spend a little time in those other games, and it would be in some cases more interesting than at least some parts of just them sitting in the room, because they don't do very much.
No.
And they don't have very much to work with. And theirs seems to be the most non-time sensitive, because he gives them like 9 hours or something. Yeah, it's a long time. And they don't really, he kind of gives them clues over time, sort of.
Well, the interesting thing would be, it's not that they get clues over time, It's all the clues are right there. It's just like how leisurely they go about being like, well, we sit around long enough. Let's think about this.
Yeah.
Well, if we think about this, then here we go. I think the biggest kind of issue is whenever he pulls out his wallet. Like, really? Like, you're gonna hide like the photo of your wife and kids, of the wife and kid in the wallet, and you're just gonna happen to discover it. Like, I think that's a little bit odd, because like that's so dependent on being willing to talk about your wife and kid to the person you don't know.
Well, it's not necessarily, because if he was doing everything possible to just try stuff to get out of this, because everything else is gamed already, because it's a game, as soon as you realize that you still have your wallet, because he doesn't have his pager anymore, so some things were taken from him, and like he doesn't have all of his clothes anymore. As soon as you discover Jigsaw left the wallet, you just dump everything out and see what's in there just in case, because that's how everything else has already worked.
You should.
And he doesn't do that. The only reason Adam finds it because he tells him about the wife and he tosses the wallet across the room is because he's not being active enough.
Yeah.
And I know he's not that that sort of person, but just, I mean, recently escape rooms have become very popular, and just like all kinds of people go to escape rooms, and it's not like they don't know that they're in a situation where they're playing a game, because he tells them that they're playing a game. So they should treat it the way that people do when they go to an escape room now that that's a thing, and just try everything they possibly can.
Well, you know, I'm going to be honest to anybody who runs escape rooms. I don't give a shit. Like, the idea of escape rooms is dumb, and I'm just like, I wouldn't want to have to deal with it in real life. Why would I pay you money to deal with it in real life? Even if I know I'm not going to die. Like, no, like, it's dumb.
Well, it's things like it have existed for a long time. You've had the sort of murder mystery dinner evenings, or the like recreation of the murder on various trains stories, sort of largely inspired by the Orient Express story.
Yeah,
those have been going on for like 30, 40 years.
Yeah, but see, I would say that's something different, though, because like here's some clues. Let's see if you can find the killer, compared to, oh yes, here you are, you're going to die unless you're like smart enough to not die. And it's just like, well, if you didn't figure it out, well then, oh well, kind of thing.
Well, I don't think they're all necessarily death based, because
if
you know that you're not going to. But
if you can't escape and there's no food or water, that leads to death.
Yeah, well, it's more like
not a choice.
Like, you're going to, if you don't do it within the time limit, then you lose the game. And so it's like playing any kind of game. You want to win the game, so it's not about you want to win so that you don't die. It's still just like, it's like people want so bad to play video games in real life.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's an opportunity for that.
I just want to shoot aliens in space, because I can't do that in real life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess for now you have VR. I don't know. Or just regular video games.
I just want to go to Skyrim and, you know, like, stab some trolls, you know? That's all I want to do, man. Let's see here. Okay, so because I've only watched those few and I don't really remember that whole bunch about the rest of them, the idea of someone who's not willing to play. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, well, fuck you, I ain't playing. I'd rather just sit here and die than be part of your game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering,
then eventually, then you just die.
Yeah,
because in their case, they have a long time where they could just sit and eventually die if they don't do anything. If you're the head mechanism woman, then you have like a minute, and then you have to do something or you die. Not until she stands up, though.
Yeah,
she could just sit there for a long time
and starts the timer. Yeah, but I'm wondering if there is anything in any of the other movies of someone who's just like, yeah, I don't care.
Well, I think even just from 4, they tend to start out that way. People are like, we're not doing this.
No, I mean like someone who's like, it's like a solo game, not something that actually pushed the story forward. because there was the one from 4 where it's like a group of people who had to work together. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about someone who it's more of like a solo situation, kind of like the guy who was lit on fire.
Yeah.
There's something like that where it's not as important for the story, but it shows that there are times where like Jigsaw's plans don't go the way he wants them to, because like the person does die because they just chose not to play.
Yeah.
Something more towards that line where it's like we see it happen, and maybe that causes him to take a different route, and then that leads into something in the story, compared to somebody who's just a jackass in the story, and they're the cause of other people suffering because they don't want to do it. It's like, yeah, because there was all kinds of crazy contraptions in the 4th one.
Yeah.
You know, and that teamwork aspect is something that I find a little bit of difficulty with.
Well, because that basically is the escape room.
Yeah.
Like, that's the version of it. This really isn't. I mean, they are trapped in a room, but they don't really have much access to things to figure them out, because one way or the other, somebody's cutting a leg off. Like, that's the only choice they eventually have, because he has to get to the gun, because I don't think the blood is really poisoned.
No,
and so
not.
And they can't reach the gun, so one of them has to get the gun, and so one of them has to cut the leg off.
Well, from the way that it's shaped, it almost looks like the gun and the tape recorder are the same distance between each person.
So he could shirt it over to it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be heavier, so it might be more difficult.
Well,
to
especially because like the guy ended up getting that other piece. That he used.
Like the drain plug from the bathtub.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm sure if they spend enough time, maybe they could have gotten something. You know, granted, he was holding it, so maybe he just wouldn't have let it go.
Yeah,
maybe. But
well, he should have, I guess, because otherwise they would know something is going on and it's cheating the game.
Exactly. But with that would have been my first thing. Like if I was gonna play, here's a bullet. I'm gonna see if I can get that gun. I'm gonna shoot this lock.
Yeah.
Because I know that gun is going to destroy that lock.
Probably.
Because like I know like the saw blades aren't going to cut through it, because what kind of lock would that be if you could just take a hacksaw to it?
Well, I mean, you could, but the thing is that he gave them deliberately
shitty,
dull enough hacksaw blades that they will not cut through the metal of the chains or the locks, but they will still cut through you because you are soft.
Yes. And I would have shot like that portion of the lock. Like I may have got hit by some ricochet, but that lock is off.
Yeah, but I mean, then they're still in the room and they don't know how to get the door open necessarily.
I'm wondering if the door's not even locked.
Well, he kind of pushes on it, but he can't really move it.
Yeah, but
he doesn't have that much leverage.
It's at that weird angle, and we do see that the door actually, like to open it, you have to slide it to where the doctor was at.
Yeah,
like it's that kind of thing.
And he was pushing.
Yeah,
and he couldn't really he didn't have an angle to really pull on it.
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, I feel like the door wasn't really locked. It was just like, you got to do this, and then when the time shows up, like I'll actually get up and be like, all right, here you go.
Yeah. Except then he's in the room with them, which is something he hasn't been before.
Uh-huh.
And that's dangerous. It really seems like he didn't expect it. Which I don't know. It's still like, that's kind of like the box also, where I don't know that he really wants people to succeed. I mean, he lets head mechanism woman go when she doesn't die, but then he also sets up the doctor at the same time, so nothing is free really.
Yeah.
How did he get his pin light? How? I
don't know. Actually, that was.
Did he steal? Maybe he leaned over the bed at the hospital and he took it from his pocket one time.
That's something that I did kind of.
Or Zep took it.
I do kind of like, and I think it would have been really, really funny. It's because the blah 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 words please work. The detectives come in. They got to speak to the doctor, and they have like the evidence bag with his pin in it. It's like, is this your pin? And I would have just loved for him to like open the drawer of his desk and just reach in and then just pull out like a handful of those kinds of pins and just drop them down. Like, yep, maybe.
Well, if it was just a pin, you could do that, but it's not just a pin. It's a pin light. It's like the flashlight that like they shine in your eye to see what's going on. So it's not just an ordinary pin.
I would still think he'd have more.
He could
than
have
one,
more
though.
than one, maybe, but I don't know
Because if it's a pin and a light, if either one of them stops working, then you got to replace it anyways.
Well, I don't know if it is a pin and a light. Like a pin light is just what the name of that narrow kind of flashlight is called, and they don't always also include a pin. It's just it's the shape of a pin, so it's called that. It may not actually.
If it doesn't
be a
have
pin.
multi-functions, I'd rather just use a normal flashlight.
Well, it's really bright and narrow.
1,000 lumens.
And if it's
flash that entire son of a bitch in your ear,
you
will taste the sun.
has to fit in your coat, in your shirt pocket like a pin.
Let's see here. There's that. Okay, so he does a really good job, like, not moving and then getting up at the right moment. Like when Zap shows up and then he gets his ass beat and he's like his head gets caved in. I mean, that's a porcelain lid of a toilet. Like, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like his skull is mush. And he's still he's just still there, just laying, pretending to be dead this whole time. And then he gets up, and I'm just like, I'm surprised he didn't get up earlier after he shot the dude and he fell.
Yeah. Well, there's no reason for him to take the makeup off.
Yeah.
Except for us.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter at all to Adam, because he's just going to die trapped in the room anyway. Which I guess doesn't make any difference that he saw his face then. But oh yeah, the face thing. Like, I haven't seen 5, but the poster for 5 has his face on it.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of turned to the side, and I think it's like half someone else's face or something. Like, he's wearing a mask, but you can see his face and you can tell that it's Tobin Bell.
I also dislike that no one shoots him in the back, even though they're given like 100 opportunities. It's like, you have the gun.
Well, he does shoot him with the shotgun, but he gets away anyway.
Yeah. Like, he gets like slightly injured, but it gets to one of those points where it's like, I'm kind of upset with Danny Glover because you're standing too close to him anyways.
Well, everybody's standing too close to everyone. The mom is letting Zepp get way too close, and then he's able to take the gun.
I'm not even on that one yet. I'm not on that one yet. Because I got a whole bag for that shit. So we have Danny, and he's standing right there beside him. Like, get some distance, man. That's a shotgun, not a pistol. And if you're not willing to kill him right there, just to kill him, then you need to have, come on, some tactics, man. And even if your partner is firing his firearm, just let him do it. He's your partner. He's a detective. He should know what he's doing, and you should have enough faith in him to it's like, okay, he knows what he's doing. I'm here to support him. We're trying to save this dude, and we're trying to arrest this dude. But he gets so caught up in like what he's doing that whenever the partner does shoot, he just like, let me take my eyes off the suspect to go look, and then that fucks him.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I feel like that's a cheat. Now, unfortunately, the partner does get caught in a trap, and I'm not going to say you should have thought about that because it's a really weird situation, and sadly enough, the way that the shotguns that are above him are set up, you couldn't have seen him from the hallway that direction anyways.
Yeah, and he's not necessarily looking for tripwires. I mean, they know that Jigsaw creates elaborate circumstances, but they don't necessarily know that the headquarters are... And they didn't see anything on the way in.
Yeah.
Although it does look like that's the same staircase. Like when they're coming up the staircase and there's like the smoke and fog and stuff.
Yeah.
It looks like the same, even with the smoke and fog, as the one that is supposed to close if the barbed wire guy doesn't get out in time. Like, it looks like the same staircase.
We only had so much money for sets.
Yeah.
Now, for the wife, she should have just shot him in the head. Face, chest, it doesn't matter. Like, at that point, home invader, kill him. Because your child is still...
it's hard for ordinary people to just shoot a guy, I guess. But
if your child is in danger, then that shouldn't even have been a thought, especially after you had just been captured. If you have enough balls or ovaries or whatever you want to call it, to get out of your situation, to try to wrestle the gun away from him, use it. Because he's still there. He's still alive. Your daughter is still tied up, and you're not really doing anything other than pointing the gun.
Yeah.
And so because of that, all you did is fail anyways.
Also, maybe don't take the time to take the gag off because there's time for that later after she's untied.
Yeah.
Because right now you need to escape, not make it so that she can talk.
Actually, you don't even have to worry about that. You put 2 rounds in his head and he's dead and you got brains everywhere and then you set.
Well, no, I mean, it's before that, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's when she first unties the rope. They don't have the gun yet.
Yeah. But, like, that's a load of ridiculous because I can understand if this person was by themselves. Like, there was no kid involved, like, maybe they were younger, anything like that. But it's like once you go into that, oh, I have to be the protective parent kind of figure, now you don't really have an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're choosing to kind of be a wuss over protecting your kids.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I got to give her an F.
Well,
An F for completely failing something that should have been really easy, maybe traumatizing in the long run, but you knew your kid was still going to be safe.
But it already is.
Exactly. But you knew your kid was going to be safe because it's done. It's done and it's over with. You can get the police to show up. Yeah, your kid's fine. You can move forward now.
Uh-huh.
But like no, like all of her actions, all it did was just like it's like a stop bump. You know, because the dude just still, he just wrestled it back from her because she didn't do anything.
Uh-huh. And she stood very close.
Yeah. Now, I can understand that part of it because the daughter was still tied up to the bed.
Well, but like point the gun at him and make him back up.
But that's the thing. It's like she wasn't even doing that.
No.
She was trying to get in between him and the kid.
Much.
And I would have already shot him. And then he's dead. And then you didn't have to worry about him getting to the kid. He's dead. So she fucks up on every account. So she gets an F. It's almost like the parents from A Quiet Place. Not paying attention to their kids.
Yeah.
In an environment where things will kill your children.
Yeah.
Let's just let them walk behind us. We don't have to keep an eye on them because they're young and not as experienced as they need to be to survive in this incredibly hostile and violent world.
Mm-hmm.
Nah. Same thing here. We're going to only half-ass protecting our kid. So like when the doctor panics and he goes and he just starts like if it wasn't for him saying use your shirt, like if that wasn't his idea, then maybe I would have letting him got away with it. Because he doesn't start off full panic. It's just the phone's ringing, now he can't reach it, and then it's because he can't reach it, he just builds up and builds up. But at that point, he's already shown us that he knows use your shirt. He didn't do that, and so my ability to care about him surviving through this gets nullified because now I know he himself, who should be able to handle the situation because he's a doctor, specifically a surgeon, because that's what he says he was. It's like, shit happens on that table.
Yeah.
And you got to be calm enough to fix it because your patient's life is in danger. You can't be calm enough to know, oh yeah, I told Adam to take his shirt off. I'll do the same thing because I know it works.
Yeah.
Because he's just trying to make sure his wife and kid is all right because he heard the commotion. But the phone's ringing, which is kind of weird. Like, why is it still ringing? Because, it's been closed. So it's hung up. And it's not like they called him back. But it's ringing to let us know it's active.
I think she did call him back. Because then we see her in the living room with the neighbors or whatever. And they say, have you reached him yet? So I think she's been trying since.
Okay.
Because she did wrest the phone away from Zepp. So.
Okay. So I'll let that slide. But it's like, seriously.
But
using your own advice to get that phone, which wasn't that far away, so you could know that your wife and daughter are safe. So much more stuff would have come through this.
Yeah. I mean, something that they never actually even try, although it probably wouldn't work because they're terrible at throwing things, is that they never, like, something is too far away and they want to get it to the other person. They never, like, push something across the floor so that it'll hit it and knock it closer, or throw something so that it knocks something else to the other person. They just try to scoop stuff and they can't do it.
If anything, you could take his shirt, take the sleeve off of his sleeve from his shirt, tie it around the box because the box should be heavy enough.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of toss the box and then use it to drag stuff that are closer by that would be harder to kind of latch on to stuff.
Which is what Adam does with the drain stopper.
Or you could do the same thing with the hacksaw because the hacksaw is hard.
Yeah.
And it is
and
also
longer than the box.
Yeah, and it's
He actually should have used the saw because he can almost reach it with the box.
Yeah.
He probably could have reached it with the saw.
Yeah.
Or the toilet lid.
I just don't like the idea of we have to have a character panic so they can do something that's not good or not right and use the excuse that they're panicking. I don't like that. It feels sloppy because we know that there are enough people out there who, even if panicking, don't go full dumb.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people probably would. And they have been in this room for like 9 hours or something, and they haven't really been through that much direct trauma. They've mostly just been allowed to sit there. I mean, he knows that his family is in danger, which somehow Adam knows about his family before he's told him about them. So it seems as if and he knows their names.
Well,
so it seems like there's a scene missing or something out of order because Adam knows things that he has not yet been told.
Well, I think the names I'm okay with because we do hear the names said on the tape. Like on the doctor's tape, he does say the names, but he doesn't say who the names are.
Yeah.
So it being a wife
he knows
and kid,
the names. He doesn't know it's your wife and kid.
Like
yet.
that's what's a little weird. But it also makes me wonder, since we know Danny Glover is the one that hired.
So he may have told him who they are.
It's like, oh, he's got a wife and a kid.
But we don't know about that part yet.
So yes, exactly.
It's it can't be a clue really.
Oh
because...
shit! Now you want to talk about some creepy, because this is for Halloween and stuff, so it's gotta be creepy. Danny Glover being in that apartment and then just being like shaded off and then walking slowly, and he's like, describe him. What did he look like? And he's like, I don't know, man. Like, okay, he's tall, he's black, he's got a scar on his neck. Like, that's a really good description.
Yeah. Although,
and then he just comes out and it's like, oh shit! Like, that is kind of unnerving. Because you thought it'd be somebody else.
All he knows is that the tall and black thing works for the doctor, but the scar thing doesn't because he hasn't seen him since he had the scar.
Exactly.
That we know of. He gets that after he interviewed him.
I mean, like maybe he could have heard about it.
Maybe
because he knows.
I mean, he knows he was disgraced from the police. Yeah. So yeah, it's possible, I guess.
But it being like so specific. And the scene worked for me. It really did.
The scene does work,
like,
yes.
I think that scene worked better than, like, I'm wearing this pig face and attacking people. Because, like, how are you getting these tranquilizers into these individuals and it worked? Because I can understand tranks can work really, really fast.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm just like, how are you injecting them with it? Because that's the only real way you can do it. And, yeah,
I don't think he has blow darts or anything.
Yeah, it's just like whenever he's in the closet, like we knew he was going to be in the closet. Like it's a build-up scene, the sounds and the noises, and then he's using the camera flash, which is really annoying.
It is, but I did want to talk about that because it is kind of annoying because it happens a number of times, but it's supposed to be unsettling and grating also. But it's not so bad. Like it's a camera flash.
Yeah.
And it is not as bright and painful as flashlights commonly are in movies.
Yes.
So it is toned down enough where like it's still bright and kind of uncomfortable, but not so much that it's the 47 meters down flashlights.
Yeah.
And it should be because it's a camera flash. It's in total dark. So it should be very, very bright, but it's not so bright that it's bad. So that they handle it well, at least.
I also now this is more of a character trait, which is something I don't like in people, and it's like I'm going to just work and pass out. Like I go to bed, I will do stuff and then I will be tired and then I will just go to bed. I will not pass out at my desk. I won't do that kind of stuff. I know better, and so like seeing him like, oh, I'm in the dark room and I'm doing this stuff. And then I'm just going to pass out at my desk.
Yeah, that's never happened to me. I've passed out, like, playing video games or something. I mean, not passed out, but, like, I've fallen asleep playing video games and then realized, I just wake up and, like, the controller's down on my lap. And I'm like, oh, wait, I fell asleep. But only, like, once or twice. And not for very long. Not for, like, the whole night. And then suddenly you realize, wait, the whole night has passed. What happened? Yeah. I fell asleep at my desk.
Well, it's like I haven't fallen asleep playing games. Now, I'll sit in like my nice comfy chair, and I might like take a nap in it. but it's because I know I'm going to take a nap. It's like when sleep comes, it's because I have chosen to sleep. And so I might put myself in a situation where how I fall asleep may be different than laying in a bed and then just closing my eyes and hoping I pass out. But it's like, you're working. You're working. Not chilling. Not relaxing, all cool. Not just getting back from playing some b-ball outside of a school. You're working. Yes, I was doing a Fresh Prince thing. There you go. But no, like what is this? What is this? And then like Jigsaw comes into his place and does all this kind of stuff. He checks the light. He checks the flashlight, which I don't know why you would just have a flashlight in a dark room, because that would ruin the pictures anyways.
Well, I think it's just in case though.
In a dark room. No, you go out of the dark room, and then if it's dark out there, then you can use the flashlight. You'd still ruin your pictures.
Yeah.
And that's his job.
Yeah.
Why would he do something that stupid?
Well, he might have finished all of the developing before he fell asleep on his desk. We don't really know. Or all the important stuff. He does hang up some of the important pictures we see.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm shooting into the closet. So like if I was to ever wake up, because my in the facility of which I have my domicile, my closet door stays open. I do not close my closet. If I was to awaken and see my closet door closed, I'm using my 45 and I'm shooting into that closet, because fuck that. No one's supposed to be going into my room to close my closet door anyways. So if you hiding in it, you best not be hiding in it, because you're going to get filled with lead or brass, depending on which rounds I'm using.
There is something, like, the people passing out at desks happens a ton in movies. And also,
I will only accept it in a Japanese movie that deals with people working in an office. Just because that is actually a thing. And because it is actually a thing, I'll let it slide. It's in his own house. It's in his own house, for Christ's sake.
But something else that happens in movies and TV all the time is people have, in supposedly like low rent, they have no money, the apartment is terrible, apartments have what are actually really expensive collectible antique refrigerators. Because I guess it's just like, oh, it's old and they're not going to, they don't have money for a new refrigerator, so it's this dirt old refrigerator. But those aren't inexpensive.
No.
And they don't just leave them in buildings. Like, none of those really exist just randomly and haven't for years and years and years.
Well, it's like the Asian guy who sells refrigerators. We know he loves refrigerators. You probably could have sold that refrigerator to him.
Yeah.
Got yourself like a cheapie. It would have made you some money. You could have paid your rent.
It's just they always have
you some food.
These great old refrigerators. It's like, that's not what a cheap refrigerator looks like.
I love refrigerator.
Don't slap the refrigerator.
Nope, you can slap that toaster all you want. Toaster ain't gonna save your life. What is this? The brave little toaster stops Saw?
Well, he does dive into the gears at the end of the first movie. So if there were gears to dive in, he would. Assumes toaster's ginger. So how do we feel about stars?
2.
Really?
2. This movie, I do not like it. I can understand why people might enjoy it, but this movie is dumb, and there's nothing really about it I like. Because I think it's dumb. The story is kind of, what? How can you say this and then say that? Your continuity is bad. Your characters are dumb. Yeah, your shots are all right, but at this point, I don't even care anymore. So it gets a 2.
Yeah, I did. I was actually kind of surprised, having not seen this one. This is kind of like a Friday the 13th sort of situation, where like, this is not the same movie as the rest of the series, really. Like, it's much more I mean, there is actually Jigsaw in this. And actually, we didn't talk about it, but the puppet is a really nice design. The actual Jigsaw puppet is kind of unsettling and creepy in a not just puppets are weird, so this puppet is weird kind of way, but it's actually like creatively weird and unsettling, and I do approve of it.
Well, as much of an asshole as I am, like, let's say that mouth thing was on me, right? And I carved that dude up, and I got the key and I got it off. And it's like, whew. And then, like, the dude just kind of crawls up. Like, now I'm going to knock his ass off that tricycle.
Kind of wheels up
in
the tricycle.
What now? Try me.
It does seem as if he must have multiple puppets, because Adam beats a puppet to death on his couch, and then we have the other one in the headquarters later.
Try me, bitch.
Even the like 7 like parts don't really like. Those are not benefits, because I don't like the 7 like parts in 7 that much. Go back and listen to that episode.
Well, see, at least with the 7 parts, there's like a specific sin associated with them, and it's clear. It's not like, oh, you have to be smart to figure this out. Like, nah, it's like, it's almost handed to you, so you can be like, oh, this dude really is smart, and like, we're like, if the movie didn't hand it to me, we wouldn't have known. This one is just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Why is this dude just unconscious and paralyzed awake thing on the floor? Why him?
I think it would be a 3 if it didn't fall apart so much at the end. But there's just so much of like, it's extreme, and then just panic and bogus bad decisions and not protecting the children. Like, there's so many things that happen in the last 15 or 20 minutes or so that just do significant damage, and so the sort of decent parts of the earlier parts are not enough. So I don't think I think it'll have to be 2 also. I do like the one scene, and the one scene in the investigation that actually works, even though it results in we're going to totally break the law and screw up this case even if we find something, because we're not going to get a warrant. I do like him sitting there obsessively watching the videotape, and everybody's going home, and then he discovers something, and then they come over and they're like both trying to figure it out, and they pull the files out. Like, I like that moment of investigation, but most of the rest of the investigation is extreme fast motion stuff while they show us the other people that got killed. And so those parts are not good.
At that moment, you'd think, they ain't got a warrant for any of this. Why don't they just shoot him?
I know, it's already illegal. They can't arrest him, because they can't hold him. So yeah,
and then everything they discovered, it can't be used against him now. But if you shoot him and he's dead, it's over.
Yeah, you don't have to.
And
you don't have to put him in jail.
And you got this whole setup. You got this whole. You could have just bullshitted. You had a witness testimony right there. You saved his life. I'm sure you can be like, hey, man, you mind helping us out with a testimony saying this guy was trying to kill us, and so we had a fire to defend ourselves? Sure thing, bro.
You still have to explain what you were doing in this place. But,
anonymous tip.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much that's going to hold. That sounds pretty fake. It's an anonymous tip. Although they publish anonymous things in the New York Times now, so who knows. We should mention also that this is James Wan, who we met before this, and you hopefully will have heard us meet him before. Not literally meet him, but he directed Fast and Furious 7. Because he's the one that came after Justin and was like, I can't do it anymore because Paul, and so then James Wan came in and directed 7. Fast and Furious 7, not 7 or 7 in, as other Tyler calls it, because it's a numero nim in the way it's on the poster, and those bother him. He got better, I think, is what we can say.
Yes.
Or maybe he just, everything except Furious 7 is this kind of thing, because he also like co-created the Conjuring series and Insidious, and so everything else he does is related to this kind of like sort of violent horror movie kind of things, except for Furious 7, and that is probably maybe he should do more non-horror things, because that was actually good, really good. What about scariness?
I'll give it a 3. This actually had little bits and pieces in it that I'm like, hey, that's actually kind of good. Like the whole, I'm low to the ground and I'm kind of creeping up behind this dude, and you're like, hey, he's gonna get you. You need to turn around. Because like the pig mask thing doesn't really bother me so much because you still know it's a dude.
Yeah,
It's
we
still
know
a-
it's not a magic pig person or something.
Yeah,
'cause that's
it's-
not the movie that we've been in so far.
It's not like it's making like pig man squealing sounds. Like this isn't South Park. Man, bear, pig, not a thing.
Yeah.
But it's like just a dude in a pig mask. Like if he's just standing there kind of staring at you, and it's just like, all right, kind of take you creepy ass somewhere else. But it's like him just kind of like, I'm just gonna like sneak around. I'm gonna like get you. Like, all right, that's kind of spooky. All right, because we know what's gonna happen. We know the end effect of it. But it really is. It's that Danny Glover scene where he's like in there and you can't see him, and he just
creeping
like
through the shadows.
just a big silhouette, just like in the kitchen, and he's like, describe what he looks like, and he just starts kind of creeping up, and you're just like, oh, it's Danny Glover. God, don't scare me like that, man. Getting paid $200 a day isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Just for some pictures. Just gotta follow the dude, take some pictures, and you out.
Yeah. Surprise.
The ultimate limited extended 20th anniversary Extreme Collector's Diamond Edition, wrapped in its own new Millennium Limited Edition Special Collector's Case on Blu-ray, on Special Edition DVD, on video and Pioneer Laserdisc. Only for a limited time.
Okay, so this is only because we were talking about pig heads. And it's worth mentioning, but I don't know if I would have like brought it up in general in other contexts or would have thought to. But go for this. Okay, we haven't done one of these in a long time. So if you don't know what it is, this is the collector's edition, the part of the show where we highlight either a whole edition of things on occasion or some special feature or sometimes physical things that come in additions beyond just the here's a disc with a movie on it of movies. So for this, go and get your copy of the of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, either the like DVD 2-disc one that has like the Roger and Jessica headshots and all kinds of stuff in it, or I think what is the current Blu-ray release of it, which I think has all of the content on it. And go and find the deleted scene that's called the pig head sequence. And it's interesting for a number of reasons. It explains what's going on in a moment in the movie that otherwise doesn't make sense. When Jessica comes to see Eddie Valiant and he's coming out of the shower, we don't know why he's in the shower. Now you could just think he's taking a shower. It doesn't have to be a reason why. But the reason why was because he went to Toontown and was like picked up by, or when he's questioned by the weasels, they take him into Toontown in the car, put a giant pig head on him, and then drop him out of the tunnel outside. And so what he's actually doing is washing that off with like he's got these bottles of acetone and benzene, which are two of the things that are in the dip in the shower, and we see like an eyeball wash down the drain and stuff. And it's not a good scene, and it doesn't belong in the movie, and it's good that it was cut out. And it's really the only thing that actually was. There's also an introduction from Bob Zemeckis that you can watch with it also. And if you don't have that, the whole thing is on YouTube, including the introduction. You can find it that way if you don't have it. But you should have it because it's a really good movie, and it's a really good edition of it, both of those editions. But it's a good example of why something that seemed like a good idea at the time ends up not in a movie, even though there was a ton of production to it, because it's a full, like the whole pig head is like fully animated and everything, and they had to build this wire shape of the pig head so that Eddie could like feel around of it when he's really realizing what's going on. And so there was a lot of work put into it, and ended up not in the movie because it was actually bad and you don't need it. But But it's worth the time, the 5-6 minutes or so with the introduction to go and to check it out.
All right, so your task is to remake this movie and it not suck.
Well, I mean, there's like 6 more of these things.
I didn't
Some
say
of the
work
other
on the
ones may be
sequels.
better.
I want a remake of this one.
It'll happen eventually. They claim that the original plan, although that's bogus because there was no original plan besides just making this one movie, that they wanted to make 14 of them, but then they progressively made less and less money as they came out. And so by the time they got to 7, they were making barely any money, and they're like, all right, we'll call it the final chapter. And so there were no more. Although wasn't there just there was just Jigsaw recently,
Yeah.
which I don't know when I guess it does still take place after, right? It's not like a prequel or a remake or anything. I don't know how you could have a prequel. He hasn't been dying of cancer for that long.
What'd you give it?
I didn't give it scariness, actually, did I? I hate to agree, but I guess 3, yeah. It's mostly like it has some tension and stuff, but it's not that scary most of the time. So yeah, I guess 3. And that's all we have to say about Saw. We'll see you next time.
Later. It makes me wish I never saw this movie. Haha.
I knew you had something. You had this look on your face for like the last 30 seconds. I knew you had something.